This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Watch where you step and stand. That's the message from some riders at one of the city's busiest rapid transit stations. Every surface at the Osborne stop is covered in pigeon poop. And as CBC's Mike Arsenault explains, it's been a long-standing problem the city can't seem to keep clean.
The floor, the railings, and even the seats at this Osborne Rapid Transit station are covered in pigeon droppings. This station has effectively been taken over by pigeons, and if you're not careful, they could poop on you like they did on me. Nyasha Ward uses the Osborne Rapid Transit station daily, and she describes the cleanliness of the station in one word.
It's disgusting for sure, and you don't want to get pooped at for sure, and I know people are sick of it, plus they're used to it at the same time.
Ward says the pigeons and the mess they leave behind has been an issue since the station opened. Dale Lightfoot says the pigeon problem needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I'm not sure on a solution to it, but it's quite annoying, I'll say, and dirty.
Lincoln Poulin of Poulin Pest Control says the structural design of the station naturally attracts pigeons, and fixing the problem won't be easy.
Now, people say, can you get rid of the pigeons? Yes, you can install bird spike, but it's getting to all the areas. Now you need a lift or a scaffold, and trying to get to all those areas is very, very challenging.
Poulin's been working in pest control for 26 years and says architects generally don't consult with people in his industry when designing structures. He says underneath the station there's a lot of open ledges where pigeons are nesting.
If you don't get rid of the nesting sites, then you'll have them reproducing and you're dealing with 5 or 6 birds instead of 2 birds.
The Public Works Committee Chair, Janice Luke, says the city has installed netting, bird spike, and reflective deterrents to push pigeons out, but nothing's working.
Yeah, it's really challenging to permanently fix it. For the birds, it's a nice, cozy spot to hang out. And, we're trying all these things, and clearly it's still a challenge, right? Because the birds keep coming back. So we're just constantly cleaning.
Luke's is talking with transit about some long-term solutions, but nothing is in the works yet. Ward is doing her best to dodge the poop, but she's been hit from above before.
Once. Usually poop is good luck, right? That's what people say.
The city power washes the station once a week, but says it's looking to increase that frequency and is also looking at installing more physical deterrents. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Members of Winnipeg's Sikh community celebrated a rebuilt road outside a popular Gurdwara. It was part of a promise by the province and city to upgrade Mullard Road. But as CBC's Josh Crabb reports, the community is still hoping a promised walking path will be added.
It's the oldest Sikh place of worship in the city. For more than 40 years, getting to this North Winnipeg Gurdwara meant driving on gravel and later a partially paved road.
It was horrible. It was horrible. That was, it's unbelievable.
Upgrades are now nearing completion on Mullard Road between Pipeline Road and King Edward Street. Work is still underway, but repaving has been finished on a large portion of Mullard, including right in front of the expanded Sikh Society of Manitoba building.
It is smooth. It might be the smoothest road in Winnipeg right now.
City and provincial leaders celebrated the project Thursday with members of the city's growing Sikh community. It is a municipal project which got $6 million from the Manitoba government. Premier Wab Kinney says the upgrade offers improved safety and is a sign of the Sikh community's contributions to the province.
We are seeing that the infrastructure and the investments of your tax dollars in the community are now coming back to build up Mullard Road and to build up the future of the community.
The Sikh Society of Manitoba started asking for a new road and a walking path around 4 years ago. The road has been paved and there's ditches on both sides of it, but so far no signs of a walking path.
Even my wife were asking me, why they didn't put the walkway, but it's okay. Give some more time. I'm not no hurry. I don't want to create any negative comments or anything like that. So that's okay. Give them time, and it'll be done.
A provincial news release mentions a promise for a walking path is now a reality. In an email response to CBC after the news conference, the city said the agreement with the province did not include a walking path, but Sikh Society President Harbans Brar says he's still hopeful one will be built. The Premier's press secretary later confirmed the Manitoba government is still developing plans to get that done. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
We now know more about where some of the 4,000 modular homes the federal government plans to build will go in Winnipeg. The former Capyong Barracks along Kenaston Boulevard has been earmarked. A portion of the Nawi Udena site has chosen by the newly created Build Canada Homes Agency. Winnipeg is among 6 cities receiving the housing units. The federal government owns about 1/3 of the Nawi Udena site. The rest is owned by a coalition of 7 Manitoba First Nations. The Right to Housing Coalition says the city needs more low-income housing. It says it's important these new federal units are built in places close to services. An experiment in traffic calming is underway in River Heights. Last month, the city installed temporary curbs on Cambridge Street. It's part of an effort to improve safety in neighborhoods across the city. And at least one resident says it's working. CBC's Cameron McLean has more.
And I was like, yes, the traffic is finally slowing down.
Tim Fennell noticed a change shortly after the city of Winnipeg installed this road narrowing curb on Cambridge Street.
I saw a driver stop for a kid that was trying to cross the street mid-block. I'd never seen that before on our block.
Fennell says drivers like to use his street as a quick route to get from the south end of the city to downtown. He's counted traffic volumes outside his home and says the street sometimes gets 5 times the number of cars it was designed for. These temporary curbs are part of an experiment. The city will try different configurations and measure their impact on traffic speeds and volumes. Fennell says it's already having an effect.
I think, when people see this, they say, oh, I'm fed up with this. I don't like this traffic calming. I'm going to take a different route. Yes, that's the point. We're trying to reduce the volume.
Cambridge is one of a number of streets the city selected to receive quick-build traffic calming measures this year. The locations are spread throughout the city, and the measures include curb bump outs, road narrowing, and pedestrian islands. Public Works Chair Janice Luke says the city went the route of temporary measures because it takes time to design and build permanent fixes.
If they don't work, we can move them, right? They're not permanent. And then when we find what works the best, when it comes time for a street renewal, make it permanent.
Tim Fennell says it will take time for drivers to adjust their habits, but once they do, it will make the city safer for everyone. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's mayor is sending a letter to Ottawa asking the city to be prioritized for new defense spending. Scott Gillingham wants to capitalize on the federal plan to dramatically increase military investments to meet NATO commitments.
We have been home to the defense and supporting the defense sector for, a century. And we believe that we are well positioned to continue to support Canadian defense for years to come.
Gillingham says 17 Wing is marking its 100th anniversary this year, and the city is home to 2 Royal Canadian Air Force headquarters. He says Winnipeg already has the 3rd largest aerospace sector in the country and has the ability to train new workers. Manitoba recently announced it's expanding its immunization program to protect infants born during RSV season, but coverage still falls short of universal access to all infants. Kids are back in school, which means cold and flu season is around the corner. This fall, Manitoba babies born between October 1st and March 31st will be eligible to get a single-dose injection to reduce the likelihood of severe illness from RSV. And if your baby is born outside that window of dates, you're out of luck.
I think this is a great step forward, and for those that are outside the season or prefer to have a maternal vaccine, we need to make sure that healthcare providers are talking to their patients early and often about what you can do to prevent RSV because there's no treatment.
The province says RSV accounts for 10 to 20% of respiratory tract infections in infants that require medical attention, and about 5% of healthy infants are hospitalized in the ICU due to the virus. Time to bring in weather specialist Riley Laychuk now. And Riley, a cooler day that we're seeing now. What do we have in store for the coming days?
Certainly more fall-like today, Brittany, in these dying days of summer, a bit dreary out there as well. Considerable cloudiness as expected across most of southern and central Manitoba at the moment. High pressure right now, keeping much of the north clear. Mid high level fair weather cloud showing up on satellite right now. But we have seen, as expected, a few bands of showers pushing into southeastern Manitoba through the Steinbach region, even toward Morden Winkler as we've gotten through the later afternoon hours as well. This does bring a slight chance of showers into the city of Winnipeg as we get through the evening tonight. All part of an area of low pressure south of the border that is giving us some showers and some periods of light rain into the Dakotas, into Minnesota, even some embedded thunderstorms into some of this as we've gotten throughout the afternoon hours. So today in Winnipeg, 18 degrees as expected this afternoon, 15s, 14s into much of the west and much of northern Manitoba. Slight chance we could see some showers overnight, Brittany, 13 degrees, and we have a better chance as we get into the day on Friday. I'll have more on that when I come back.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Dozens of trees are being removed in Brandon. Why? The city says it has to be done. More on that ahead. More than 70 trees in downtown Brandon are being removed to prevent the spread of invasive species. The city says the trees had to go for a number of reasons, including jumping tree lice. Local businesses hope it's part of a bigger plan. CBC's Chelsea Kemp has that story.
If a tree falls in downtown Brandon, will people notice? This week, the city is removing 71 ash trees to stop the spread of jumping tree lice. Brandon's downtown biz rep, Emmy Sanderson, says cutting down the trees has left some streets looking naked. The removal comes at a time when revitalization is top of mind for the city's core.
We're hoping this actually adds to beautification because a lot of these trees looked dead all year. So it's actually beautification to remove them and replace them with something healthy.
James Chambers says trees in front of his cafe are coming down soon. He says the city needs to be thinking of beautification so downtown doesn't feel too sparse without them.
Things together, if there's empty storefronts and you don't have the greenery and you don't have the flowers and you don't have the furniture and you don't have the murals, then it doesn't become a very welcoming space.
Mecca Productions owner Lisa Vasconcelos says the city still needs to do more to help make the heart of Brandon more welcoming. She wants cleaner streets, more greenery, and something done with empty buildings.
So we have a lot going for us in downtown Brandon, but we need to make sure that it does look and present itself at its very best.
The downtown biz has long pushed for beautification. Recent research shows it's part of creating a welcoming space that encourages foot traffic and improves safety. Sanderson says trees are part of that vision.
That it's a necessary evil, and I think of it like a forest fire. Like sometimes you have to remove the unhealthy parts so the rest can thrive.
The city says it plans to start a replanting program in 2026. It will include a mix of species to build a more resilient urban tree canopy. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Brandon.
In an era of rising polarization and political violence, a group of international researchers is exploring a different path: inclusive peace. It was part of a panel discussion Wednesday night in Brandon. A political scientist who teaches at the university says they've been looking at conflicts around the world. Their goal is to understand how deeply divided societies can create stable and democratic institutions after conflicts and violence.
Oh, it feels pretty urgent, right? Like, the world is an increasingly more violent place, and we're having less and less. So I think there are 61 active conflicts in the world today, and we're seeing less and less comprehensive peace settlements.
The project is now 2.5 years underway. The company behind ChatGPT is introducing changes it says is meant to protect kids who use it. It comes after an American teen died after talking about suicide with the artificial intelligence software for months. But while experts say better protections for kids are necessary, the changes also pose major privacy risks for users. Nicole Williams reports.
What began as a homework helper gradually turned itself into a confidant and then a suicide coach.
Matt Rain testifying this week before a U.S. Senate subcommittee looking into the harms of AI chatbots. Rain and his wife are currently suing company OpenAI after their 16-year-old son Adam died by suicide in April after having conversations with its program ChatGPT.
When Adam worried that we, his parents, would blame ourselves if he ended his life, ChatGPT told him, that doesn't mean you owe them survival. You don't owe anyone that. Then, immediately after, offered to write the suicide note.
OpenAI is now promising changes to how kids can use the program. It's introducing parental controls, which will allow parents to link their accounts with their teens to help guide how ChatGPT responds to them. It says it will also roll out a system to automatically identify users younger than 18 and limit what ChatGPT shows them. If it's unclear how old you are, it'll presume you're a minor. And if you're older, you'll have to prove it by uploading a piece of ID.
It's like asking the fox to guard the hen house. We don't allow other industries, consumer companies and other industries to self-regulate nor should we allow tech to continue to do this.
We don't know what they're going to be doing with this data.
This is one of several tech experts flagging the possible privacy risks with these new changes.
There's great risk of data misuse. And how about breaches?
And there's another thing. OpenAI says it would also contact a child's parents, even the authorities, if it feels the risk of self-harm is imminent.
One of the big concerns with AI is the monitoring and the surveillance piece. In order for them to do that, they're going to need to monitor the communication that's occurring between that person and the tool.
On its website, OpenAI says it knows some of these changes compromise privacy for adults, but believe it's a worthy trade-off for child safety. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
Riley's back in now, and we were just chatting about how warm the overnight temperatures have been. And I'm just going to take a second to say how good I've been at growing peppers this year. Trying for the first time. Producer Holly started me off. I'm going to try my first homegrown jalapeno tonight. So I need these temperatures to stay warmer for a little while longer.
You are in luck. So we've gone under a pretty good stretch here of warm overnight temperatures. So pretty good if you still have garden left that is still going, and it's a stretch that will continue. I'm going to show you the numbers here. Here's where we've come so far. Just in case you may have forgotten, it's been a couple of weeks since we actually hit that record overnight low back on September 4th. And really since then, since the start of last week, really, we've been at temperatures overnight that have been either at or above seasonal for this time of the year. So, I mean, some parts of the province, particularly when we saw these two cooler days, did get some frost into the city of Brandon, for example, parts of the southern Interlake, places that didn't get frost. If you still have some garden or some field left, well, we are in for a stretch of overnight temperatures that are going to stay warm. So here's what that looks like on our 10-day temperature trend here, taking this out almost to the end of September now, and looking at a consistent overnight temperature around 12 to 14 degrees for the city of Winnipeg. I mean, plus or minus a couple of degrees. This is forecast modeling, of course, so especially the further out you go, it's not perfect, but it does give you a sense of where we're heading as we get toward the end of the month here. So as you saw earlier on satellite imagery, considerable cloudiness, some showers push through as we get into the evening, but as we get into the morning hours, that's when we do have a better chance of seeing some showers in Winnipeg and parts of the Red River Valley as we head into the day on Friday. So the potential for maybe a couple of passing showers first thing in the morning for the south and into the Interlake as we get later into the morning hours, but it's what happens into the afternoon that is still a little bit up in the air. There's still not a lot of agreement with the forecast modeling on what exactly is coming, partially because of high pressure to the north of us and what that will do to the track of this low as it pushes off into northwestern Ontario. So we could get into some periods of rain, for example, into Morden Winkler, Emerson, maybe even into Winnipeg, but I do have a good chance of showers as we get through the day. Into the Interlake, north and south as we get into the day on Saturday, maybe a few showers left for the Red River Valley and into eastern Manitoba. What this translates into rainfall numbers, I'm saying a general 5 to 10 millimeters in some cases, but there's the potential locally where we could get into that 25-30 millimeter range. It all depends on the track of this low as it pushes into northwestern Ontario and what the path of that does as we get into the day tomorrow. So temperatures in the afternoon, again, very similar, looking at 18 in Winnipeg, 14 in Brandon, Brittany, and we're looking at temperatures starting to warm up as we get toward fall and we get the sunshine back into next week. I've got some weather picks for you coming up.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
And here's a look at Assiniboine Forest as we head to break. We're back right after this. Stay with us. The suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's late night show has sparked a firestorm of reaction. ABC pulled the plug indefinitely after the American host's comments related to Charlie Kirk's killing. Many Republicans, including Donald Trump, have cheered the decision, but Democrats are calling it a dangerous threat to free speech. Karina Roman has the latest from Washington.
We're still trying to wrap our heads around the senseless murder of the popular podcaster. And
Senate Democrats say this is a classic move of a despot, that President Donald Trump had a chance to bring the nation together after Charlie Kirk was killed, and instead is using the tragedy to double down on targeting and silencing his critics.
Essentially saying that any media actor that doesn't say what Trump wants them to say about Charlie Kirk or Trump's policies is going to be silenced. That's censorship.
Even though freedom of speech is the very first amendment in the American Constitution, Democrats are going to introduce a free speech bill to specifically outline a court defense for people the government goes after. Because critics warn the First Amendment itself isn't just threatened, it's dead.
There was an order from the state about what people must say. Jimmy Kimmel did not say that, and his corporation was threatened with consequences by a government official. This is not cancel culture, because it's not culture. It's state repression. It's an order from the government. Here's the script you must read. If you do not read it, you will be taken off the air.
It might have been more of an implied order than a direct one, but the chilling effect is the same. That said, President Trump had a similar defense to when he reacted to the canceling of Stephen Colbert's show by CBS.
Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
The Trump administration and its allies argue the killing of Charlie Kirk was an attack on free speech because some people didn't like what Kirk had to say. But it seems getting Kimmel yanked off the air is okay because he said things they didn't like Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr, a Trump appointee and ally.
It was appearing to directly mislead the American public about a significant fact of probably one of the most significant political events we've had in a long time.
The FCC regulates and licenses broadcast TV in the U.S. Carr said local broadcasters don't want to be forced to air a show that is not in their community's interests, as if the local affiliates are not owned by corporations, two of which also happen to be looking to merge, which requires federal approval. Meanwhile, on his way back from the UK today, Trump mused that perhaps the networks that come out against him should lose their licenses. Karina Roman, CBC News, Washington.
Now, this latest incident has people from both sides of the political spectrum weighing in. While Trump applauded the move, others say it sets a dangerous precedent and government overreach. But it could impact how, say, other comedians do their jobs. Canadian comedian Dean Jenkinson joins me to discuss just that. Thanks so much for being here, Dean.
Hi, Brittany. Pleasure.
So, Dean, comedians have long pulled from news stories what is happening around the world when performing. So what are your initial thoughts on this from that standpoint?
I mean, it's very disappointing, obviously. As a comic and as a comedy producer, I find, an enormous amount of value in comedy as a tool of both telling stories and reflecting society back to itself in a way that lands and resonates with people. I think comedy is an invaluable tool in speaking truth to power. And I think that, we ostensibly live in the West, in Canada and in America, in a society where you do have free speech and you can criticize the party in power, knowing that while you may upset people who don't agree with your viewpoint, you don't run the risk of government overreach, as you said in your introduction. And that's pretty clearly what this is. This isn't a case like, people have talked about, well, Roseanne got her show canceled because she said some stuff on Twitter that people didn't like. But that was a private company making a decision based on whether they want to be associated or working with that person. That doesn't seem like this is what that is. This seems very much like the FCC acting as an arm of a government that is increasingly willing to overreach, as you said, and ignore other branches of government and not worry about the legality of a lot of what they do. Just says if you want your network, ABC Disney, to get the things that you're looking for in a business sense, if you want mergers approved, if you want other things, you need to play ball and you need to cave and kowtow. And I think that's extraordinarily dangerous, not just as an artist, but even more so as just a citizen and a fan of freedom and democracy, and someone who doesn't want our neighbor next door or anywhere to be ruled by an authoritarian government.
So, Dean, cancel culture and comedy have been intertwined for a long time. But what do really these current tensions mean for free speech to you?
I mean, it definitely, I think a lot of the actions of the American government currently is very intentional to dissuade people from standing up and criticizing. The lawsuits against the media, the lawsuits against the New York Times, it's just this kind of, we are going to make it clear that if you speak out, you will, the nail that stands out will get hammered down. And that's a very authoritarian kind of attitude. We don't live in North Korea in North America. We don't live in China. We don't live in Soviet Russia, but that is increasingly what it is. And I don't think that there is a good faith argument that, well, the left doesn't like when comedians make jokes about less advantaged people, about trans people or people who are unhoused or people of color or anything else. I don't think it's an apples to apples comparison, because it's not, a democratic government in America coming after comics for making those kind of jokes. It's the culture. It's cultural pushback. Comedian Mark Maron made a very good articulation of just that, which is, the right, like comics on the right who like to say, well, I should be allowed to say whatever I want. You kind of are. There are no legal or, punitive consequences other than pushback from people in the culture. So you put something out there and people reflect back to you what they think of it. And that is not what we're talking about with Jimmy Kimmel. This is very clearly, Trump is on his Truth Social saying, I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad the Daily Show, you know who I'm talking about, and I'm going to blank on names, but he wants all 4 or 5 of the late night shows to be gone because they have a huge audience and they're very critical of what he does. And you can say you agree with them or not, they have a right to do it, it's a very thorny and disappointing kind of development.
Dean, I appreciate your time and your opinions on this matter. Thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate you asking me. Thank you.
Meantime, Trump has wrapped up his historic 2-day state visit to the UK. The first day was filled with pageantry, but day 2 revolved around politics. Before heading back to the US, Trump spoke to the media about some thorny issues, including the war in Gaza.
We have to have the hostages back immediately. That's what the people of Israel want. They want them back. And we want the fighting to stop, and it's going to stop. But a lot of bad things. Hamas said that they're going to put the hostages up as bait. They're going to put the hostages in front of any attack. And that's pretty brutal.
When asked about Russia's war in Ukraine, Trump doubled down on his threats to sanction Moscow, but also blamed the EU for their use of oil from Russia. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Mexico for a 2-day visit. Both countries are preparing for the renewal of their trade agreement with the U.S. But Carney and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum are also looking to strengthen trade ties between Canada and Mexico. The CBC's Evan Dyer is traveling with the Prime Minister and has more on what's at stake.
Well, any lingering tensions between Canada and Mexico appear to have dissipated somewhat. Of course, there was a rocky period after President-elect Trump in November last year first said that he was going to impose tariffs on both countries, and some Canadian politicians reacted by suggesting that Mexico should be cut out of CUSMA, the deal that replaced NAFTA, and that Canada should negotiate a separate arrangement bilaterally with the United States. Since then, there's been an effort to smooth things over. We saw Prime Minister Mark Carney invite President Claudia Sheinbaum to the G7 in Alberta. We also saw a couple of visits here by the Canadian Foreign Minister, the Canadian Finance Minister, and by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who was one of those who had made comments that upset Mexico. So there is an appetite for talks on some serious matters that are facing both countries and for taking common positions. Both, of course, are facing a review of CUSMA next year. And that trade deal is under a great deal of pressure already from the United States. Both expect this to be a difficult negotiation, with Washington trying to extract concessions from them. So it's in their common interest to negotiate common positions and strategies. But they both also know, of course, that they can't depend on the United States. So both are looking to diversify their trade, and it makes sense to diversify with each other. Of course, NAFTA and then CUSMA were primarily, from both Canada and Mexico's point of view, about getting access to the neighboring market, the immediate neighbor for both of them, the United States, the big market in NAFTA, and to some extent perhaps neglecting the opportunity to trade with each other. This morning we heard President Claudia Sheinbaum saying that Mexico wants to change that.
Bien, también.
Mexico is quite a bit further along than Canada in upgrading its infrastructure, roads, rail, seaports, and airports. And in fact, the concern in Mexico is that it's Canadian ports that might not be able to handle the volume of trade that Mexico has in mind for this future trading relationship. And in fact, Mexican officials have even discussed the possibility of direct Mexican involvement in an expansion of the ports of Montreal and Vancouver to be able to handle the kind of traffic that they're hoping to have with Canada in the future. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Mexico City.
October, Halloween are just around the corner, and pumpkins are a part of our fall traditions. But this year, those pumpkin patches aren't quite as plump as previous years. More on that straight ahead. Stay with us. U.S. Ambassador to Canada says he's disappointed Canadians aren't, quote, passionate about the U.S.-Canada relationship. He also alluded to the elbows up phrase that became a rallying cry after President Donald Trump began his trade war against Canada and talked about annexing the country.
I'm disappointed that I came to Canada, a Canada that it is very, very difficult to find Canadians who are passionate about the American-Canadian relationship, okay? You ran a campaign where, it was anti-American, elbows up, Me Too, it was an anti-American campaign. That has continued. That's disappointing. We've created a lot of prosperity and wealth, high quality, high paying jobs by working together on both sides of the border. Like I said, I'm passionate for it. The business community is passionate for it, but they're not very public about it.
The Manitoba First Nations Police Service says it's rolling out body-worn cameras. The cameras will first be rolling out at the Opaskwayak Cree Nation detachment. The goal to provide more transparency, accountability, and trust within communities. The service says officers have already received training on how to use the new equipment. There are plans to expand to the service's 10 other detachments in the coming months. The Governor General is once again recognizing and celebrating Canadians. That's Andre Lewis, the longtime artistic director of the Royal Winnipeg Ballet. He's joined by columnist and faith reporter John Longhurst, as well as Holly and Paul McNally, co-founders of independent book chain McNally Robinson. 5 out of the 61 Canadians invested into the Order of Canada today are from Manitoba. The Order celebrates people who've enriched our country through their extraordinary and varied contributions. Well, if pumpkins are a part of your fall tradition, you might have to adjust your expectations this year. Weather conditions for the squash have been less than ideal in much of the country, and that means fewer pumpkins with an inconsistent appearance. And as Sarah Levitt explains, some farmers worry they could see more years like this ahead.
Sylvain Etier says only one pumpkin grew on this vine, and many of his plants are drying and rotting, something he's seeing all across his field.
Il y a un 30 à 40% moins de citrouilles dans le champ.
Etier says his pumpkin yield this year is 30 to 40% less than normal. Heavy rain in early July, followed by almost no rain for a month and a half, made for unhealthy fruit. It's a problem many pumpkin farmers are facing, particularly in eastern Canada. According to the Canadian Drought Monitor, around 70% of the country's farmland has been abnormally dry this summer. On Prince Edward Island, Mackenzie Produce is really feeling it this year.
This is probably 33 years since I've been on this operation, and there's only been 1 or 2 years that by records show a struggle such as this.
With Thanksgiving and Halloween around the corner, it's peak pumpkin time.
Anytime you don't have the yield that you were planning on, again, it's going to be on your bottom line. Our input costs were all still the same, so seed prices weren't reduced.
And here is just a really immature pumpkin.
At Black Fox Farm and Distillery in Saskatoon, the weather also didn't cooperate, but in this case there was too much rain and cool temperatures. So this year their highlight event, the Pumpkin Festival, had to be canceled.
We had games for the kids and wagon rides and pumpkin soup and pumpkin donuts and pumpkin pie, but we can't really run it if we don't have the pumpkins.
Farmers, always at the mercy of the weather, worry the more frequent unpredictability will lead to tough years ahead, with Canadians turning away from local crop and instead to imported pumpkins to satisfy their jack-o'-lantern needs. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Riley, back in, and we definitely saw some concern here just a few weeks ago when we had that early frost, and then temperatures overnight have started to warm up once again.
Yeah.
Hopefully okay for some of the farmers here.
I have said this a couple of times. It's almost like we did summer backwards, right? Like we started off dry, through June and July, and then we got into the wet weather into August, when it really should be in a typical year the other way around.
Yeah.
And we're looking at some more rain as we get into the day tomorrow. If you're going for a dog walk, well, you might want to hold off because we are looking at a bit of a wet one as we get through Friday. Emma, thank you, Amanda, for sending this picture in. Emma is a fan of smooth jazz, so maybe tomorrow is the day to stay inside and listen to that smooth jazz instead of playing ball outside, because we're looking at a bit of a wet one. 18 into the afternoon, and a better chance for some showers, I think, in Winnipeg comes into the afternoon hours. Winds stay fairly light, and maybe even a few lingering showers into the day on Saturday. Okay, I wanted to talk about precipitation here because, as I was saying, yes, we kind of did summer a bit backwards in that we saw rain later in the season when we should have been drier. And that early frost in some cases in some parts of the province really not helping when it comes to harvest and when it comes to the gardens and whatnot. I wanted to give you a snapshot of where we are right now as we head into sort of the end of harvest here into the winter months. Still a big moisture deficit in parts of the Inner Lake. This is May 1st all the way up to the beginning of this week. This does not take into account any rain, particularly in the parkland that's fallen throughout the week this week, but still a very, very large moisture deficit in parts of the Interlake. Southwestern Manitoba now back toward normal rainfall amounts at this time of the year, and the parkland, parts of Westman looking closer to that normal mark. So we are getting there. This is not the ideal time for rain in Manitoba, but certainly we will be looking as we get into the winter months here of seeing a lot of snow, potentially, hopefully, so we can put a dent into that moisture deficit as we get toward next spring. Overnight temperatures, maybe a few showers really south of the Yellowhead into southeastern Manitoba, looking at temperatures 11 in the western part of the province, 12s to 14s through the Inner Lake, and 10 to 13 through northwestern Ontario overnight. And looking at single digits, clear skies in northern Manitoba, 6 overnight in Thompson and Norway House, getting up to 18s for the Pas, OCN, Grand Rapids, 19 into Norway House tomorrow afternoon. Mix of sun and clouds and maybe a couple of stray showers out of some of this around Flin Flon and the Pas tomorrow afternoon. And then we get into a chance of showers, a better chance as we get through the day tomorrow for southern Manitoba. You can see some of that on Futurecast as we get through the afternoon here. Temperatures 14 to 15 degrees across the West Brittany, and looking at showers continuing into the morning on Saturday.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, a love of reading can open the door to lifelong literacy. That's why a Manitoba-based charity has been working to get books into the hands of kids and their families over the years, close to 800,000 in 21 years. Shannalee Vidal has more.
Chris Melnick is dropping off another load of books at Norquay School in Winnipeg.
You brought all kinds of books for the kids. This is great.
Yes, I brought books for your resource center, and I've brought school supplies.
Melnick founded Share the Magic 21 years ago. It's a program where books are distributed regularly through schools and other community organizations. Since then, close to 800,000 books have been given away across Manitoba.
I've received so much in my life that all I want to do now is give back, and this is a way I can do it. So knowing that they're being appreciated, that the books are being taken home and shared throughout the family, it's very, very positive.
Kim Melnick is a learning support teacher at Norquay School and specializes in literacy.
I feel like I get to be Santa Claus every month because I get to go visit all the classrooms and bring all these wonderful donations.
How many have you read?
Almost all of them. Yeah.
Peyton Richard Pullman is a 4th grader at Norquay.
I just really like to read, so whenever I'm bored, I usually just read some of those chapter books.
Many of them get really excited when they see characters they know, so especially the younger ones, different Disney books, things like that. Peyton said Dogman is very popular.
It's about a dog and its owner, it's the police, and they got in a car crash, and they switch bodies.
Some kids really would rather watch TV or sit on their iPad or play games, but them taking the choice to spend time reading books, being engaged at school when they have free time in books in their room, looking at different opportunities of where they can improve their literacy and wanting to read and spending time with others reading books is just really exciting.
What's yours about?
Mine's about a kid that really likes basketball. Yeah, I used to just find books boring, so I didn't really like reading, but now I do.
Steve Norberg is in grade 8.
My Nana was actually, we were at a bookstore and she wanted to find me a book to read. And so we were just looking around and I found it and I thought it was interesting and I turned out to like it. And it's called Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I've watched the movie, yeah.
How does it compare to the book?
I feel like the book is actually better. Before I used to think movies were better, but the book describes it better and like what everyone's feeling and stuff.
I feel it's really giving them an opportunity to select books that they're interested in.
Share the Magic started donating books to Norquay School last year because there was a need to make reading accessible for students and their families. There isn't a public library within walking distance of the area.
In partnership with this school, we were able to move over 6,000 books into the North Point Douglas community.
Shanley Vidal, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead, swimming amongst the seahorses. The reaction a snorkeler had to this underwater find. That's next in our Daily Lift.
Couple of more dreary days ahead for Winnipeg and much of southern Manitoba as we end the week off here. 18 degrees for Friday in Winnipeg. Good chance of showers perhaps first thing in the morning, but I think our better chance for some of that comes later afternoon tomorrow. Some showers still lingering into Saturday, scattered in nature, but again, parts of the Interlake into central Manitoba looking at more of a steady rain once again into Saturday. Then we'll get some clearing as we head into Sunday, 21 degrees, mix of sun and clouds into Monday, 22s, and then 23s and 24s for the first few days of fall as we start next week. And some weather photos for you. First one I have for you tonight is from Brian, a family of bears in Pinawa, and a couple from our producer, Holly Carrick, who took these at Victoria Beach. A lovely sunset there, and one more of Toby.
Aww.
You can send your pics. I'd love to see your corner of the province to talk back at cbc.ca, of course. This might sound like a bit of a tongue twister, so hold on to your horses, Brittany. A snorkeler swimming in the waters off in Nova Scotia swam right into the scene of a movie.
And while it may seem like a scene out of maybe The Little Mermaid, her encounter is very much real. Here's your Daily Lift.
It felt like the Great Seahorse Migration, because the more I swam, the more I found. I didn't think a snorkeler could ever see a seahorse because they're kind of rare and they're usually very low down, 20 to 30 feet, like in the seagrass. That's not some place I go. I just float on the surface. So that was a rare treat for us. I didn't think anything like what happened on Sunday could ever happen. When I saw the first one rise up out of the grass, I almost couldn't even believe my own eyes. I didn't think that was ever something I would see. And I was very puzzled about what it was doing. But I guess they have this habit in more tropical places where they're actually from of swimming up and grabbing onto floating debris in order to move to a different location. They were all very beautiful. Their eyes, every single one of them had a slightly different color eye. Just amazing to see what kind of creatures the ocean has and what kind of strange life is going on down there. It's unreal.
That is very cool, and that's what I noticed too on that close-up was the eye and how interesting it looked.
You're on
You
vacation.
never know what you're going to find in the ocean.
Heading south to some warmer waters.
You know what?
Probably.
I prefer just finding that little seahorse over some other things
I
that you
know.
could find in the ocean.
Would probably calm me down so much.
Right?
Just put me at ease.
No, little zen.
Exactly.
Have a wonderful night. We'll see you here tomorrow.
Have a good one.